You stupid grunt. Did brain damage from your submarine make you forget how the real world works? Rich people like me don't lose to government welfare cases like you. Those were the first words out of Marisol Wentworth's mouth that morning, standing on my dock, with her designer heels grinding sand into the boards I'd just spent 3 weeks restoring. I wish I was exaggerating, but I couldn't make up an opening like that if I tried. There's a certain kind of person who really believes the world is divided between people who buy islands and people who build them. You know what I mean? The kind who steps off a boat flanked by 4 security guards like she's invading Normandy, not crashing a stranger's breakfast on a patch of sand off the Florida coast. Behind her, a construction crew was already unloading demolition gear, metal clanging all business. She waved manicured nails toward my cottage. "This island makes 18 grand a month in solar revenue," she sneered, like I'd personally insulted her for existing. And the sun caught her platinum bob in that way only rich folks can buy hair sharper than her smile. Now, I'll be honest, I've seen people try to take what's not theirs, but this was new. I set down my fishing rod, the one I'd planned on using to catch dinner, and watched her act like she was on her own personal runway. She didn't know or didn't care that she was standing on federal land or that the Navy flag over my door wasn't just decoration. My name's Commander Brick Holt. Most folks just call me Brick. And not 8 months back, I was 400 feet under the Pacific running submarine rescue operations that would change everything. Today I'm watching an entitled HOA president, a woman who's never missed a pedicure, try to steal the only thing I own that matters, a 5-acre island bought with blood, sweat, and a little legal luck. If you've ever had somebody come after your property, you'll know how that anger feels deep down. Like every memory you ever built is under threat. The construction crew kept setting up angle grinders, screeching, and I could see it in their eyes. They were just kids following orders, but none of them wanted to meet my gaze. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to bulldoze. I kept my voice level. "Ma'am, you're trespassing. This island's mine. Bought it through federal channels last week." She actually laughed. Imagine a cash register learning contempt. "Federal channels. You mean that military auction where they dump scrap on desperate veterans?" She whipped out an iPad, swiping fast. "Horseshoe Island's been under Pelican Bay HOA management for 4 years. We have contracts, investments, infrastructure. Your sale is void." The guard spread out all muscles and neck tattoos. I almost laughed, remembering I've been depth charged by the Chinese and lived to tell the tale. Let me back up a sec, because if you're wondering how a retired Navy man wound up fighting an HOA war on a remote island, you're not alone. 8 months ago, I was CO aboard the USS Retriever deep sea rescue off international waters when a Chinese sub went down, reactor cooling failure, the whole deal classified. We dove, recovered the crew's secret stash, encrypted drives maps of U.S. bases, and here's the kicker, 47 million in gold bars Swiss cereals. Long story short, the government kept the goods, but under maritime salvage law, I got a finder's fee. 2 million cash or a pick from the surplus property list. Most were worthless, but Horseshoe Island stood out, 5 acres old. Navy weather station, underground, bunkers, real estate with a history. Day I signed for it, the transfer clerk, Dorothy 70, if she was a day, looked at me with those, "You sure about this eyes?" "That island's nothing but trouble," she warned. "Locals don't like federal land in their backyard." Should have listened harder. Moving day. Roosevelt the pilot. Vietnam vet, knew the place from his Army days, flew me in. As we approached, we saw solar panels everywhere covering half the island like silver fish scales. They weren't in any listing photo. As soon as the rotors stopped, the hum of power was everywhere. These panels were live. Someone was using my island as their personal energy farm. Inside the cottage, everything was Navy issue untouched. But outside, security cameras, maintenance sheds that weren't on any map signs reading Pelican Bay Community Solar Initiative, no trespassing on my own island. That first night I slept light. The sound of waves was supposed to be peaceful, but every splash put me on edge. At 2 in the morning, boats circled the island, spotlights sweeping like prison guards. Message received. Morning brought a letter, perfumed, embossed HOA letterhead, inviting me to an emergency meeting regarding your illegal occupation of community property. Not optional. Yeah, that happened. I spent the next hours installing my own cameras, ex-military gear, documenting everything. And in the process, I found a hidden logbook previous caretaker Garrett Knox had detailed months of escalating threats. Midnight, boats cut, cables raw, sewage dumped at his dock. Marisol, the same woman now threatening me, had him committed to a psych ward. Last entry. Can't take it anymore. Whoever finds this, don't let them win. That's when I started checking the bunkers. Most were ruined, but one was spotless, recently cleaned, full of modern servers. Not decommissioned, not abandoned. An active military intelligence node still hooked to naval data streams. My so-called weather station was an unlisted surveillance hub. And Marisol solar panels, they were a perfect cover, probably piggybacking the fiber lines. So I made a call, Admiral Rebecca Thornfield, my old CO at the Pentagon. Admiral, we have a problem. Civilians have access to active intel equipment. The silence that followed could have frozen seawater. Commander Holt, she said, I'm reactivating your commission. Secure the facility. Anyone approaching is a potential threat. I didn't have long. That night, Marisol came back with more boats, more muscle radio comms buzzing. Through the tunnels I watched as she headed straight for the bunker entrance. She knew exactly where to go. This wasn't about solar panels. This was espionage. As her team tried to breach the command center, I triggered my old Navy distress signal and started recording. Their conversations gave away everything: download protocols, offshore servers, plans to sanitize the site. When her techs found the servers, Marisol ordered them to start transferring classified intel. I sealed myself in an old survival shelter deep under the island. 20 minutes later, the Navy arrived in force. Seahawks, overhead Coast Guard cutters, the works. The feds fast roped in, boxed in Marisol and her team before they could blow the place sky high. Caught them red-handed downloading military secrets. And as the sun rose, a fourth helicopter landed. Out stepped FBI agent Diana Rivera, tablet in hand, evidence ready. She walked straight to Marisol, now in cuffs, and let her know in no uncertain terms, we've been watching your husband's offshore accounts for 18 months. The solar scam was clever, but selling intel to foreign nationals is treason. Rivera wasn't kidding. They'd been trailing the whole operation. Within hours, Marisol's husband was arrested. Her son flipped as a witness. And her father-in-law, former Judge Harrison Sterling, showed up on a yacht waving a deed from 1943, claiming the island was stolen by the Navy during the war. A twist straight out of a bad TV drama. Turns out Sterling's ancestral property had been confiscated after he was caught running a Nazi submarine refueling station here in Weep 2. Generational treason 80 years apart. The FBI found Nazi radios in the bunker's maps and German gold payments traced back to Switzerland. All this history layered with Marisol's own scheme to sell military data to China under the cover of solar panels. That's right, the island I'd bought as a peace and quiet retirement was a key node in a spy ring that went from Nazi U-boats to Chinese state hackers. The trials made headlines: HOA president charged with treason, Chinese espionage, the whole circus. I testified for 6 hours, every detail. Marisol got life. Her husband flipped, got 30 years. Harrison Sterling died before he could stand trial. Too many secrets, too much guilt. Afterward, the feds refunded every HOA victim's money, shut down the whole organization, and let Pelican Bay residents finally breathe free. My neighbor Knox, released from psychiatric hold, moved back and built a cabin. The Navy made me official caretaker salary and all. Veterans visit for fishing tournaments. The bunkers that once hid traitors now shelter hurricane supplies. Some days I stand on that dock, same one where Marisol called me a government welfare case, and I just laugh. She thought money made her invincible. But arrogance and greed are always the downfall. The gold that paid for this island, Chinese bribes, meant to buy secrets, ended up exposing the whole operation. Last week I got a letter, no return address, just a 1943 photo of the Doc Nazi officer shaking hands with Friedrich Sterling. On the back, someone wrote, "Thank you for ending what my family started. I tossed it in the fire ashes, swirling out over the water, and watched the fish swim through uncaring." Life keeps moving. Now the Navy flag flies alongside Old Glory, a POWMIA banner snapping in the breeze. No more trespassers, no more spies. Just me, Knox, and a bunch of old sailors who'd rather fish than fight. I tell this story at neighborhood barbecues, and folks always ask, how does it feel to be the guy who stopped a generational spy ring? Truth is, I just refuse to back down. Marisol's greed did the rest. So what about you? If someone tried to steal your legacy, your home, would you fight back or walk away? Ever tangled with an HOA or seen a neighborhood ruined by folks who think the rules don't apply to them? Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear the wildest one you've got. And if you think justice is about more than who's got the deepest pockets, hit like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who could use a little reminder that sometimes the good guys win. This is Horseshoe Island. No HOA required.